There is a point at which ambition tips into delusion, and the so-called space economy might be it. The Institute of Economic Affairs' recent report, Exploring the Space Economy, is a kind of love letter to free market expansionism, dressed in the language of innovation, but underpinned by a very familiar imperialist arrogance. Here, space is no longer a mystery or a cosmos to contemplate, but a resource to be exploited, a market to be conquered, and eventually a new arena for private wealth accumulation. The report celebrates the growth of the space economy. The current value of the space economy is estimated to be around 400 billion US dollars. It's expected to be worth $1.8 trillion within a decade. But what is the space economy really? It's mostly satellites, surveillance and communication systems at the moment, all built on monetizing data and connectivity. The more speculative dreams include asteroid mining, lunar manufacturing, Martian settlements. These aren't just explorers venturing into space. They're projections of an economic system determined to colonize, to claim ownership, to exploit, and to impose competition, markets, wherever it lands. The language is striking: property rights in space, space mining corporations, orbital gas stations, lunar logistics. It's the same logic that carved up the Earth, now extended into the stars. Commodifying the planet isn't enough. We're now looking to monetize the void. Proponents of the space economy would have us believe that anything humans touch can and should be priced. But space doesn't really make sense as a market. It's not a place in any earthly sense. To talk of owning an asteroid as if it was a chunk of Cornish farmland, it's absurd. The laws of supply and demand break down in a realm where resources are, at least theoretically, infinite. The report cites an estimate that there is 10,000 quadrillion US dollars worth of platinum that could be mined from asteroids. Let's just pause on that for a minute. The UK economy is about $3 trillion. The US economy, 28 trillion. The global economy is around $114 trillion. This amount of plutonium is 88,000 times bigger than the global economy. A number so large it collapses under its own weight. If anything like this volume of platinum were ever harvested, it would flood the market and become near worthless. Capitalism depends on scarcity. Space offers the illusion of abundance. The result is a fantasy that undoes its own logic. Elon Musk, one of the poster boys of the space economy, recently wore a t-shirt reading "Occupy Mars." The irony is stark. This is a man worth over $400 billion, co-opting the rhetoric of anti-capitalist protest to promote a project of interplanetary colonisation. Occupy Wall Street sought to challenge the super-rich. Occupy Mars is about extending their dominion. The colonisation of space is presented not only as inevitable, but as necessary. Earth isn't good enough, so we must find more, find better. This techno-utopianism avoids the harder truth. The systems that make the Earth feel insufficient will only replicate themselves elsewhere. Mars won't save us from ourselves. The human imagination is wonderful. However, there is a point at which the imagination turns grotesque, not because it dreams too boldly, because it's dreaming without humility. The notion that we might parcel out the cosmos, commodify the stars, and direct markets in the vacuum of space reveals less about our ingenuity than our hubris. We speak of space exploration, but what we mean is dominion. We confuse ambition with entitlement. It's not a new impulse. Europe once looked upon the Americas and Africa in the same way, not as worlds in their own right, but as untapped resources, blank maps awaiting flags. Names were imposed, borders drawn, people were treated as footnotes to a larger economic project. The cosmos is now cast in that same role, vast, silent, available. One can almost imagine some higher intelligence watching us with faint amusement as we scramble to stake celestial claims with the same fervour we once mapped continents. We imagine ourselves as pioneers. In truth, we're late-stage capitalists in spacesuits, dragging our economic obsessions into a realm that isn't asking for them. The idea that we might manage the infinite is not just economically absurd, it's cosmically deluded. It makes me think of the old adage that man plans, God laughs. Do we even know what space really is? What if it's not a commodity but a mirror? Not something to own but something to contemplate? What if the lesson of the stars is not expansion but restraint? The space economy is capitalism's compulsion for never-ending growth, constant consumption, its final deranged attempt to deny its own failures, even its own mortality. It's a system so addicted to growth that it can't imagine flourishing without exploitation. But just as we're learning to decenter the human in ecological thinking, we must also decenter the capitalist in cosmic thinking. We don't need to colonise Mars. We can become better citizens of Earth. The IEA's report is revealing not because it's right, but because it's honest. It shows a vision of the future in which the stars are just another balance sheet. It invites us to believe that progress is the same as profit. But there is another way, to look at the sky, not as a marketplace, but as a mystery. Not as the next frontier for extraction, but the final frontier for reflection. The report laments the resurgence of state interventionism and public scepticism towards corporate excess, noting that the space economy has so far bucked this trend. It even coins the term space NIMBYism to suggest that people opposing the commodification of space are somehow irrationally obstructionist. This is absurd. Space is not our backyard. It's not even our country, our planet. It is, by definition, a realm beyond territorial claim and economic logic. To oppose the privatisation of the cosmos is not to fear progress, but to recognise that there are some things capitalism should not touch. The language of NIMBYism reveals the bankruptcy of the entire project. It tries to frame ethical hesitation as petty inconvenience, but this isn't about resisting innovation, it's about resisting hubris. Human contentment is available right here, right now, on Earth. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I'd be really grateful for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.